I just want to start by saying that I really like your lesson. I don't teach science, but I like it, and I think it will be very engaging for your students with all the activities that you have. So let's start here. I like the way that you describe your lesson, saying that because it's a 8th grade classroom, but you are reviewing a 7th grade content. That is for the STAR test, and I think that's good. Especially now they're gonna be taking the STAR test. And when it comes to objectives, I saw that you put the students will be able to describe and clarify organism using the dactyl key. And I think, remember, just keep in mind what we learned last week from the electronic textbook, that they taught us about using the SMART objectives. So just keep in mind, what we learned, and that we had to put all those key factors in our objectives. But I did like that you put your language objectives, keeping in mind what your ELA students are going to be focusing and learning when it comes to your lesson. So that was very good. I like when it came to vocabulary terms that you put a definition in your lesson, and you are going to focus a lot in teaching the vocabulary to your ELA students, and I think that's important because their vocabulary is very small. Some of them are. I want to point out that when it came here, that you put the word organism in Spanish, and that's a very good idea to keep that. So the vocabulary, maybe have it translated in their native language. It may not all be Spanish, but it depends on the group of ELA students that you have. That's a good idea, because even though you might have the definition, depending on their level, may not be able to read it correctly or understand what they're reading. But if you have it on their native language, they can read it in the native language and understand what that vocabulary means. So I really like that you are putting the translated word in their native language. So if they don't, by reading the definition, they still don't know what it is, but when they read the translated word in their native language, they'll be able to understand what it is. So I really like that. I saw here that you are blessed to have a bilingual mentor teacher, and that you can use in your lesson, and especially to help you with your ELA students. Just keep in mind, when we have our own classroom, you may not have a bilingual aide or somebody in the classroom with you that can translate the lesson for you. So just keep in mind how you would teach this lesson without having a bilingual mentor teacher to help you. Your engagement, I looked to your PowerPoint, and I really liked you have a lot of pictures of the different animals, a lot of visuals, and I think that is very important, because as we have learned, that visuals is very important for ELA students to learn and connect. And I also really like that you put animals from their native countries like Central America and Honduras, Mexico, and that's important because it's connecting to ELA students' background knowledge, because by looking at those animals, they can quickly recognize them and know what they mean and what are they. And we also learn that that is important and they can relate to it, and I really like that you did that. That was a very good idea. Very good idea of that. In your explore, I want to point out that you're going to put them in partners, and we know that we have learned that working with peers can be very beneficial for ELA students. So that is a very good point that you put there. Just keep in mind, how you're going to group them and partner them, because, your higher ELA students, they are more capable to communicate with their non-ELA peers, but your lower, English language learning students, they, might not know how to communicate well with their peers, and they might not participate so much in the group activity. Some of the lower ELA students that their verbal communications are not that advanced, they tend just to sit in the background and let the rest of the peers, the rest of their classmates participate and do all the work. So just keep in mind how you're going to partner them and group them. And so the ELA students, the lower ELA students, can still participate and feel part of the lesson. Also, right here with the worksheet, I really like it. I think it's so cute, and I like it. And I also saw how that connects to the video when they teach you, and it's really good. Just keep in mind the directions of the activity. How you're gonna, make sure your ELA students have a clear understanding of what they have to do for this activity. Just keep in mind that, maybe translate it or have a higher. Oh, you have a bilingual mentor teacher to help you with your ELA so they can understand the activity. But just keep in mind, again, like you might not have that in your real classroom, how you're going to make sure that your ELA students can understand how to do the activity, even as a partner. For your explain, I noticed that you put a lot of, this is the time you're going to go with your students about the vocabulary, what they mean with your ELA students. That's important, especially, for those students. That's going to grow their knowledge in language and vocabulary. So I really like that you're going to take time, even though, like you mentioned, that a 5E lesson, they don't focus so much on vocabulary, but you are going to implement that for your ELA students. And I think that is very good, because we all know they need that extra support. I also saw your video and I love it. I think it's very cute and very engagement video that your students are going to like. Again, you might have your lower ELA students that may like the video because, it's engaging, but they not be able to understand what the video is telling them. So maybe having a script down the video and translate it to the native language. So your ELA students, your lower ELA students that still are having a hard time understanding English, they be able to read it in their language and understand what the video is trying to teach them. So that's just to keep that in mind. But I love the video. For your explore, I like that you're gonna let your students talk and to their peers and communicate with each other. Once again, we did learn that ELA students, they learn from their peers, and communicating with their peers will help them a lot. Just keep in mind their again, to make sure they understand the directions of the activity, of the assignments they have to do, translating the directions for them, or just taking them aside and make sure they understand the activity, because we don't want them to fall because they don't understand what they're doing. They might do it wrong. Overall, I really love your lesson. I think it's a wonderful lesson. I like how you put all this things for your ELA students, with the vocabulary, their background knowledge with animals from their countries, and everything. It's a really good lesson, and I am pretty sure your students, I have no doubt that your students are going to love your lesson. So good luck on your lesson, Catherine, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the semester.